Hello, my dear friends. How are you doing? Hope you are having an amazing day and not having to deal with drama. Ready for new stories I have for you today? Let's go to the first one. And don't forget to listen to the end of the story, guys, to hear my insights. Enjoy the stories. And don't forget to like and subscribe. And of course, don't forget to leave a comment. I want to preface this by saying that I've been 100% financially independent from my parents since the day I graduated college. I know they don't owe me a dime, and I'm grateful for everything they've given me in life. I have a sister who is about a decade older than me, and my parents promised each of us a set amount of money towards our weddings. My sister used this money to have a big, beautiful wedding, and I'm happy my parents were able to help make her special day like something out of a fairy tale. Now it's my turn to get married, but my parents have admitted to me that they gave away the money they had saved for my wedding to my sister. My sister, a mother of one, had a series of health problems and had to freeze her eggs if she ever wanted to have another child. She didn't have the money and only had a few weeks before her hysterectomy, so she asked my parents for the $13,000, which they obviously gave her. My sister was absolutely devastated by her health issues and scared, and because they're great people, my parents were willing to do anything to make her feel better. I know I sound like a selfish, vapid bee for prioritizing my wedding over her fertility, but she was 36 when she got the diagnosis. There was no telling how long it would take for her health to recover, and it would be years before they could even afford supporting another infant, let alone the tens of thousands a surrogate would cost. She knew she would never have the means to use those eggs before she was 40, and she has made it very clear that she wouldn't want to have an infant at that age. In my opinion, she acted in panic and wanted a safety net that she knew she would never use. I don't blame her for being scared. I would have been terrified too. But I'm still upset that now I won't be able to have much of a wedding because I had been counting on the funds my parents had promised. I'm not so much upset that they gave it to her, but I am upset that they gave it to her knowing nothing would ever come of it. That they traded my wedding day for her brief peace of mind. My sister has confirmed already that she and her husband will not be having another child. When my parents told me there was no money, they were obviously stricken and apologetic. I couldn't hide my disappointment. I really tried, but they could tell I was hurt. My sister called later and told me that it sucks I can't have a fancy wedding, like hers, but basically I need to grow up, which seemed hypocritical since she made such a big deal out of her wedding needing to be extravagant. She said she's sorry, but at the time her future children were more important than one day in my life not being as nice as I'd hoped. I know this isn't the end of the world. This is dumb and petty in the grand scheme of things, and I feel ridiculously shallow for being so upset over losing my dream wedding. I'm still getting married. My wedding won't compare to my sister's, but I'm still marrying the love of my life, and it will still be an awesome day. Thanks for sticking with me through the story. I know plenty of you are rolling your eyes over the dramatic BS that comes with weddings. So, am I overreacting? Am I the a-hole? While yes, the money belonged to OP's parents and was theirs to do with as they wished, they should have told OP sooner. The original promise set OP up to plan for something bigger than the current budget can support. It would have given OP the chance to recalibrate. Not the a-hole. You should have been told when it happened. It's a jerk move for everyone to keep that a secret. You were told you'd get a nice wedding, you expected one, and when you were let down, you got a grow-up talk. Nobody gave your sister the grown-up talk when she wanted to spend your wedding money freezing eggs everyone knew she wouldn't use. I suggest eloping and having a beautiful wedding for two in your favorite spot. Not the a-hole. Your sister, on the other hand, is an a-hole. She not only used the money that was promised to you by your parents, but also is being very hypocritical about it. She had her dream wedding, and she had the support of your parents beyond that, to freeze eggs she's not even going to use. She took the money like it was hers, and that's not fair. You're important too, and should be prioritized as she was when her time came. She should grow up, not you. You're mature enough to care for yourself. Your sister doesn't seem to be. Don't be mad at your parents. They reacted to help a child in an emotionally distressed state and did what they could to soothe her. They may have done the wrong thing from a logical standpoint, but it was right in the emotionally driven moment. You're not the a-hole for evaluating the situation as you do, but you might be, depending on where you go from here. Either way, you're nowhere near as big an a-hole as your sister appears to be. Spoiled bee. My wife died suddenly in an accident that critically injured our son. Suffice it to say, along with being shattered, the whole matter has me rather preoccupied. Her family arrived rather quickly and took charge of a lot of things, especially the funeral. It was helpful because my focus needed to be on my son. I was pretty much a guest at my own wife's funeral, because although I was there for a brief while, it was on a day when my son was scheduled for a rather serious procedure, and so my time was divided. All the while, I could hear Suzanne, my wife, in my mind telling me to take care of Zach and not worry about the formalities. So I basically just gave my in-laws my checkbook. I'm not complaining about that. What happened next is different. They wanted to take some of her things, and of course I understood the value of their having a keepsake of their sister and daughter. I would never have said no, but they took everything. Keep in mind, I wasn't there. My youngest son wasn't in the house at the time either. The next time I was home, I realized that they basically cleaned the house out of everything they thought was hers, including photo books. Hours before this, my wife's older sister even went so far as to say she wanted to take PJ, my younger son, saying that I needed time and that he would be better with them. I shot that down before she ever finished the idea, though I tried not to let my anger show. In the immediate, my feeling was, I'm not going to deal with this right now. I simply didn't have the time or bandwidth to deal with it then. Not long after, my wife's sister called asking about several pieces of jewelry, claiming them as heirlooms to the family. That prompted me to recall a safe deposit box that my wife kept. I never thought we needed it. When I went to close it out, I found the jewelry. They're not getting the jewelry. But also among the papers, I found that she had a will. It wasn't formal, but it was detailed, and I later learned that it was enforceable. Key to note, my brother-in-law, after learning that his wife took such things as our photo books, demanded that she return them. She refused. My lawyer has been communicating with me constantly since the accident. There are so many details, and I had already given him the will. When I told him that my sister-in-law refused to return the property, which rightfully belongs to our children, he told me he would make a written request for all items to be returned to the executor, me, in order that they can be distributed in accordance to her wishes, and asked me to make a list. This was over a month ago. Today, I get a reply from some attorney stating effectively that I had given them permission, and so all items questioned were gifts. Are you ducking kidding me? This reply came through my lawyer, wherein he said, "Now we play hardball." He said he'll seek an order, though I'm not sure if that requires a trial. I meet with him next week. I would be passive in the shadow of all of this crap if it meant protecting my boys from a family upset, but a line has been crossed. I want my sons to have a good relationship with their mother's family. That's paramount, and I would do whatever it took to ensure that. Now we're about to get into a legal dispute, and things are likely to go badly. My last communication was with my mother-in-law, where she lost her mind on me. We had always been close, so this is all so strange to me. She was making demands that were unreasonable. The call ended abruptly when I explained that the boys were my children, that I would decide what is in their best interest, and suggested that she not test me. I'm done playing. I don't need this crap. I buried the love of my life. I'm dealing with the after effects of the accident. I'm doing everything I can to bring my son back to good, and now I have to deal with this? Thing is, people manage grief differently. I get that. I respect that. These are not bad people. They're simply behaving badly. But I can't allow it. I haven't told the boys about any of this yet. I hope I won't have to. More than once, one of them asked where this or that is, and I told them that their aunts borrowed them. Who does this? Seriously. That wasn't grief, it was greed. They saw an opportunity to clear the place out, and they did. They no longer see OP as family now that OP's wife is gone, and that is heartbreaking. But in a way, it's good OP found out now, before they went after the children properly. There seems to be this mentality that you shouldn't sue family or take things to court. That's absolutely not true. OP tried being nice. Now he needs to be serious and fight for what belonged to his children. And now let's hear the community's opinion. You are 100% justified, and I hope you get their butts in court. That's some BS. I'd be doing exactly what you are doing. This makes me so mad. We had the same issue when my brother died. People stealing stuff, saying they wanted to be in his room one last time. We did, however, take all the valuables out before people came by, but those sentimental things, those are worth more than money. Get those MFers. How dare they? She didn't belong to them. You're entitled to her memory too. Of all the heartless, insensitive things to do, I've heard of people hiding all of the deceased things and rug sweeping their grief, but to have that done to you, against your will, this is absolutely belittling to the value she played in your family. My blood is molten on your behalf. I wish you luck. Just looking at this from a legal perspective in my state, Northeast, Your most technical argument is that you did not have the authority to gift such property until the estate was actually opened. My most honest forecast of what will likely happen: they, your wife's family, will walk away with something, but not everything. Your issue is that there is property in their hands at this point, and it is hard, if not impossible, to walk that reality back. That being said, if you end up in front of the right judge, i.e., a judge who has some estates background, they may make life so difficult and frustrating for her family that they concede back a majority of the money they stole from her estate. Her family will lie to the point it drives you to tears. You will be characterized as an aggressor and a manipulator so that they keep their precious dollar. Update: I had a long and reasonable deep discussion with Suzanne's mother and sisters earlier today. They speak to the boys, my sons Zach and PJ, on occasion and actively seek the connection. I haven't spoken to them in a while and haven't proceeded with any additional action since the initial request through my attorney that they return her property, now my children's property. It was my wife's older sister's birthday a couple of days ago, and for all that's happened, I still made sure to send her lilies. Suzanne sent her lilies every year. I guess I was looking to remain human through all this mess, and maybe rubbing their nose a little at the same time. Either way, this was the catalyst for her call today. We spoke for a minute or two before she asked if I would speak to them all, together on a Zoom. They were actually standing by as we spoke, so I closed the door of my study and joined them online. As they popped up on my screen, I didn't say anything. I didn't show any emotion at all. This was their invitation, so I would just listen. I had no idea what to expect. Her mother started the conversation by hitting the tough subject head on, saying, "We have the request from your lawyer and we withdraw our answer. We want to comply with everything." Then her older sister added, "And we want to know how we can fix what we broke." For all the hell I've been living over this, the relief of their words was enough. I told them nothing needs to be broken. They asked me if I would listen, and of course I said I would. And for a while I did. I didn't say a word. They were orderly, if not rehearsed, in their monologue, taking turns in affirming each other. Her mother explained that they were shattered after losing Suzanne, and that they seemed to come together as a pack. "We've had some time since those first days, and we've talked it through, and all of us realized that we weren't thinking," her younger sister said. Part of their grief was anger, they explained. They weren't angry with me, just angry in general. When they were at the house and picking a couple of items to keep, they just kept taking things. Her older sister explained that they were upset that, as Suzanne's husband, I controlled everything, and everything defaulted legally to me. She said it shouldn't have upset them, acknowledging that's just how it is, but they felt secondary. This was the only time I spoke, saying, "I never made you feel secondary." "We just wanted her back," one of them said. "Without that, we wanted everything we could have of her." They knew they were wrong, but being wrong only made it worse. They explained it like digging a hole and not being able to get out of it. "So we doubled down," one of them said. Her mother became emotional when she said, "I read the inscription on the box and realized that it wasn't Suzanne's, but that she had made it for you." She then said she didn't mean to take it. The inscription she speaks of is carved on the inside lid of a small decorative box that Suzanne gave me years ago. It reads, "Still and after all." She always said that to me, especially after I would drive her crazy. Whenever I got Suzanne mad, I'd ask if she loved me. She always said, "Still and after all." Anyone would know that the box means a great deal to me. The upshot is that my brother-in-law will be returning everything next weekend. Her mother emphasized everything. He'll be driving it down, and my sister-in-law asked if it might be possible for him to stay over, given that it's a long ride. I told her that Anthony should always consider this his home, and they should too. When they finished, it was my turn. I didn't say much. I didn't want to say a lot. I only told them how much their decision meant to me and the boys. I explained that I understood everything they said. We were all out of our minds, I assured them. I'm relieved and yet cautious. I need some time to pass, but I'm hopeful that the relationship will heal going forward. Update 2. My brother-in-law, Anthony, arrived late last night. The boys were already in bed by then. I like Anthony. I always have. He's a good man. He was awkward initially, as if he had some reason to feel guilty. He didn't. I went to work right away at making him feel comfortable, and the two of us had a beer outside on the patio. It was good to talk to him, and we spent some time reminiscing over some funny memories. It wasn't long before we were relaxed. I convinced him to just stay a bit longer today so that we could take the boys fishing. They love their Uncle Tony, and he loves them. I knew it would make them happy, and it did. We had a really great time. Sitting with him on the patio last night, I could tell he was exhausted from the drive, and I told him the guest room was all set for him. But I asked him for his keys, because I wanted to bring everything in while the boys were sleeping. He insisted on helping, and so we emptied his little van. True to their word, everything was there. There were a couple of very obvious items, such as the bell my boys love so much. It's not all that impressive, but the sentimental value is very real. Also, their mother's little flower painting was another item of great sentimental value, among other things now returned. The space where her painting hung was starkly cold, but now it's warm again. After getting Zach ready for the day, both boys migrated to their usual place at the counter in the kitchen. Uncle Tony came out as soon as he heard them, and their reunion was really wonderful. This is why it was so important to me to keep her family close. I know they love the boys, and I know the boys love them. PJ noticed the bell almost immediately. He would hop excitedly as he went over to ring it. He put two and two together and thanked Anthony for bringing it back, then asked, why did they borrow it anyway? That had been my excuse. I told them that their aunts borrowed a few things. Anthony just smiled and said, I really don't know. It was a perfect answer because the subject was dropped right away. The boys don't need to know, and right now, they don't care. After the bell, Zach's first instinct was to turn to the hall to see if the painting was back. When it was, he and PJ went over to study it, as if it were hanging in a museum. Although they're only boys, clearly these things matter to them. I glanced over to Anthony and saw a smile on his face that can only be described as content. Those who may recall, it was Anthony who demanded his wife, my sister-in-law, return everything. I changed the focus by riling the boys up with the news that we were going to the pier. They were immediately diverted, and that was my plan. They may notice other items are back where they belong, but I don't know that they'll think too much into it. There could be no better solution than that. I will have all of my wife's photo books copied for her family, and the next step is to visit with them, to share Suzanne's will, and to give them the things she wanted each of them to have. I will go into the visit renewed, having put this moment behind us. In the end, they did the right thing. Forgiveness, therefore, is the correct response.